back in Alabama, where you came from, born and raised?
Well, my father says after he hears the biography that NBC sends out now, he goes, it makes us sound like we were poor dirt farmers back here, but he's a lawyer, and I was mostly a student, until I decided to come out here. I worked as a waiter and different things like that, helped out with football teams or whatever, but when I came out here to LA, I came out here to LA and I was a waiter, an assistant manager, even a bus dog. I found out that was the best thing to be in a restaurant.
A bus dog?
Bus dog? Yeah, affectionately known as a bus dog.
A bus dog, huh? So you did that out here?
Yeah, no one would have to talk to a bus dog. They talk to the waiter, son, can I have some iced tea? Can you bring lemon? It's like, wait, I don't even want to, all the energy was draining at this restaurant, and I wanted to participate, but, just enough to pay the electricity.
How long did you do that?
For years and years. I guess I was a waiter on and off for 10 years.
You mentioned to me in the past when you and I have spoken throughout the last 3 years that you had some pretty low ebbs and tides in your life. Specifically, living out of your car or van, I believe you said. It was your van for...
it was a truck, actually.
It was living out of your truck,
yeah. From Alabama. It has to be a pickup truck, doesn't it?
Can you elaborate on that? Can you tell us?
Yeah, how it's like tan, 19...
Not the truck.
Oh, okay.
Not the truck.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
How did you overcome that? I mean, you really came from the bottom. You came from the lowest. You overcame all odds. I mean, coming from being actually homeless, living out of your truck, to having your own television series on NBC. I mean, how did you overcome this? I mean,
I think the biggest thing was the power of prayer. I really believe that. I grew up a Presbyterian, and whatever works for you. Christ says, I am the light. And I think the one thing in common with all peoples is that they have a religion. So there is something there that every society has recognized. And I grew up believing Presbyterian mama and daddy. And I pray every day. And someone asked me, what was the best advice you ever had? And I went ahead and I said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall come unto you.
Hello, everybody. I'm T.Lindsey. And tonight we have a great show for you. Oliver Stone, Kevin Costner, and Meryl Streep will not be with us this evening. However, my first guest has achieved greatness and merit in his own right. He has worked with greats like Milton Berle on the stage, to Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeve, and the poignant movie classic, Somewhere in Time. Winner of the Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle Award, Mr. Bill Irwin. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Glad to see you.
How did you get started in this business? What was your inspiration?
I started out as a newspaper man. I studied journalism at the University of Texas. While I was in college, I got in the drama society. Found that the theater was what really appealed to me, so I came to the Pasadena Playhouse in 1936.
You're dating yourself now.
So I've been an actor ever since.
You're dating yourself. Let me just go over some brief history here about you. You got born in Honey Grove, Texas, graduate at the University of Texas, bachelor's degree in journalism, graduate of the Pasadena Playhouse, master's degree. I didn't know the Pasadena Playhouse conferred a master's degree.
Yes, it was when I was going to school there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
When it was active. It was accredited, and I was given a master's degree, which would enable me to teach if I wanted to.
Huh, that's good. You were a captain in the Army Air Force in World War II. That's an interesting tidbit. You also won 4 Drama Log Awards, and you're currently starring in the Dreyer's Ice Cream commercial as well, which I loved seeing. That was good.
Yeah, I do break dancing. I'm very limber.
You were very limber. Yes, you were. You're also a member of Theater 40 in Beverly Hills, too.
Yes, I worked with the theater group because I left since I was trained for the stage. It's very important, I think, too, for actors as they get older to do stage productions because the nice thing about being an actor is you can work forever so long as you have your health and you have your study that you're able to memorize and remember lines.
That's true.
And working in pictures, since we work in takes, very small section at a time, you really need to go to the theater to have a real workout in memory. You have to, of course, learn 3 acts by memory. And that's why I do it, just to keep limber.
How did you do this play with Milton Berle now, Guys and Dolls? Where did that start out at, and how did that come about?
We did that at the Music Center. And actually, I was the understudy for a very wonderful actor named Will Ahern, who played the grandfather in the production, and I was his understudy.
Did you get to actually?
I never played it, and I was just as happy because I loved Will, and he was perfectly wonderful in the part. I didn't want him to get sick.
You know, it's not every day a guy can come out here from the Midwest and within 8 months succeed at working as an actor, and he's been able to maintain that status for the last 3.5 years. Star of the Hanoi Hilton, and also Marilyn and Me, the ABC Movie of the Week, Mr. Jesse Dabson. Welcome, Jesse.
How you doing, Tom? Thanks.
Good to see you. How did you manage to come out here within 8 months, land an agent? Well, first let me expound on Northwestern University. You got your bachelor's and your master's in theater from Northwestern University, and then you headed out here. You came out here and determined, and in 8 months you got your first role in the Hanoi Hilton,
Right.
which is a fairly significant part within 8 months to get.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many actors that can come out here in 8 months and just get an agent that'll take an interest in them, even submit them, because most actors' photos and resumes sit on the shelves and collect dust.
Right.
And most agents are, a lot of agents are cold and callous, and they just let them sit there. So, I mean, how did you do this?
Well, actually, it was kind of bass backwards, as it were. I actually got the film before I got the agent.
Huh.
I've been exceedingly lucky in a lot of ways. I came out here from Chicago. I was taking some cold reading classes, which I'm reluctant to recommend, but at that point in time, they were pretty proliferate in Hollywood. And there were situations where casting directors would come, and he would pay a small fee. A casting director would see you do a scene with perhaps another person or a monologue, give you some feedback on it, and so forth. It just so happens that one of those casting directors was a guy named Perry Bullingdon, who at the time was working for Canon, and Canon had 20, 30 movies going on a year at the time. He saw me. I didn't have a SAG card or an agent or anything. I'd been here about 8 months, and he asked me to come audition for this movie called The Hanoi Hilton. Went in, got the doggone part, and then I proceeded to get an agent.
That's great. Now, these are these casting director workshops that you wouldn't recommend, right? But
well, yeah, the reason
you did get the part, though.
Yeah. The
Right.
reason I'm reluctant to endorse them is that having seen that, it worked for me, people are gonna go out there, pay money, and
I see what you're saying. I see
expect
what you're saying, yeah.
that they're going
Expect
to
it's going to happen overnight like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was even close to the reason that I was doing it.
Well, I usually, as a talk show host, I usually wouldn't interject my own opinion, but I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think the casting director workshops are worthwhile for actors either to recommend.
Yeah, and I think if you
I don't think actors should pay money to get on stage for 5 minutes and
Right.
and do a scene.
Right.
Pay $25, especially when they're poor themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah.
This whole business is.
I agree with you. in 2 years, so you got the part, Hanoi Hilton, and it's a co-starring role.
Yes, indeed.
And you're one of the military guys in that, or what is your part?
Yeah,
what is your part about?
The film is about POWs in Vietnam. It's based on a compilation of true stories of people that were actually in this one particular prisoner of war prison in downtown Hanoi called Wallow Prison, which was an old French penal colony. In fact, the director and the writer Lionel Chetwynd took these true stories from these guys and put them together into the Hanoi Hilton. The character that I played was actually sort of a single individual, who perhaps for taste's sake should remain nameless. But he was a young man that was in the Navy. He was pretty much fresh out of boot camp, was on his first mission. He was in the Tonkin Gulf